Hey everybody, Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique, and today I'm asking the question, are all macros created equal?
My name is Steven, and this is our video about health and fitness things. And I work for Pro Physique, and I am just a guy with a fitness thing for you.
So hey everybody, what a confusing question. And I think a lot of times we talk about calories in, calories out, and there's so many different considerations to have here that sometimes it's easier almost to maybe go take a step back and then look at some of the simpler ideas of what we kind of know to be true in nutrition and dieting, especially when it comes to weight loss. And so that's what I want to talk about today, is going a little bit backwards. We had this whole movement for IFYM initially where macros are macros, you can lose weight on whatever you want to eat, get shredded eating Pop-Tarts, cool, yes, we know it works. However, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best option. And I think there's a few reasons why we talk about that that are very straightforward and obvious, right? One of the really big ones just being nutrient density. So, the amount of fiber that you're getting, stuff for digestional health, for cardiovascular health, all of your micronutrient intakes that you get from a more diverse, less processed food diet, and those kind of things as well. And granted, sure, maybe we can supplement and do some other stuff there to help. It just might not be as good in terms of more processed food diets versus more whole food diets for some of those very simple reasons. However, when it comes down to it, if our goal is to maximize our physique, maximize fat loss, and do the kind of things that are going to help us achieve that goal, processed foods also do us a disservice on another spectrum. It's not something that we talk about too often, and it's the thermic effect of food idea. What I want to talk about today is a study that looked at that, and it's back from 2010, so it's a little bit older, but I'll link the study for you as well just so you can check it out. But what they did is they simply had people fast, come in, eat a meal. There was a little bit higher protein on the less processed food options. Obviously that's going to have a little bit of an impact on the thermic effect right there. However, what they saw by having people eating the same calories based on nutrition labels, maybe a little bit more protein, was that there was a pretty significant difference in the thermic effect of food. And what that means is the thermic effect of food is the energy your body has to spend to break down that food. And it's different for each of your macronutrients. It's lowest for fats. Those are the easiest for your body to digest and get energy out of. Carbohydrates are going to be the next. They're right there in the middle. And of course, that's going to make a difference depending on the fiber content, how much soluble and insoluble fiber they have. So how processed they may or might not be. And then protein is going to be the most demanding in terms of it takes the most energy to break it down, shuttle it around, make it into glucose or carbs and energy and use it that way. And so each of these macronutrients is going to have a varying degree of that thermic effect. So what that means is even though protein is 4 calories per gram and carbs are 4 calories per gram, the amount of energy that we have to put into getting those 4 calories out is different. Therefore, your net calorie intake from that can be affected. And so that's really what this study was looking at. And I would agree that being a coach and having people doing it a lot of different ways over the years, we see just in practice is that when you're eating less processed foods, when you're eating more whole foods, you lose weight a little bit easier. And this study confirms that the net calories that you're getting when you eat whole foods is lower than when you're eating more processed foods, in part due to that thermic effect. And what this study is saying is that that is based on the fact that it just doesn't take the same energy to get the calories out of those less processed foods. Because of that, they're more readily available, which may be a good thing depending on what we're doing. If we're going into sport, how we want it to impact digestion, great. There's definitely considerations there. In terms of net calorie benefit, it's going to give us more calories. So even though they might be the same calories, our overall net could be very different. It's the simple thing of, even though you might have the same business, overhead could be different. And think of it that way. If I don't have to pay rent on a space, that's more profit that I get. More processed foods, work at home. No overhead. You don't have to pay rent on that stuff. Whole foods, hey, you're still doing business, you're still getting the work done, you're still making progress, but you have more operating expenses along with that. So not only do we want to probably look at those more whole food based options, for, of course, nutrient density, health reasons, and of course, yeah, to maybe make some more progress, they also tend to be more filling. You're gonna get more bang for your buck in terms of volume. 100 grams of carbs of something like sweet sugary cereal is not going to fill you up the same as maybe 100 grams of carbs of potatoes or rice or something that's non-processed or less processed. And so it might not even necessarily be like, hey, I can't have any processed foods, but maybe I want to be aware of the processed foods that I'm eating and try and keep them on the less processed side if fat loss is the goal. Of course, having a little bit of extra protein is never going to be a bad thing, and we're typically going to see that that protein intake will get boosted up a little bit with those incomplete proteins from the less processed foods as well. And of course, yes, thermic effect, all that fun stuff. But it's one of those things that's also going to keep us on the diet better. If we can actually hit those numbers, if we can feel fuller, more satiated, happier with our diet plan, that's going to be a good thing. Even though I'm here saying, yes, those whole foods are going to be more beneficial, they're going to get you more progress in terms of your weight loss, they're going to help you to reach your goals more efficiently and effectively, I also don't want you to think that I am saying you cannot have processed foods or that processed foods are the devil. We've seen people lose weight on pizza diets. We've seen people lose weight on Twinkie diets. We've seen people lose weight eating Pop-Tarts and whey protein and all that kind of stuff as well. So at least in terms of weight loss and fat loss, we know it can be done, and it can be done successfully. However, would it be as easy or as optimal as if that exists? If it does, we don't know what that is yet, but we would say it's less optimal, probably for the long term, and to really get the most out of that process. But if we don't have any of that stuff, if we have nothing that we like enjoy or our sweet treats or the things that are just important to us, that's also not going to set us up for the most success. We need to be able to have a diet that's going to be manageable long term. And so we just want to have all these considerations to find out what is the most realistic diet that's going to be for us as an individual. For most of us, we're in a spot where we can make that decision. We can take the information in and say, you know what? Great, I'm gonna have a couple Oreos a couple days a week. It's gonna fit my numbers. Sure, maybe they're not gonna be as demanding on my digestion. I'll get a couple extra calories out of them overall, but it helps keep me sane. It helps keep me from going way overboard and eating all the Oreos at once because I feel like I can never have them. So when I finally allow myself to have them, I have to have all of them. And it allows us to have a little bit healthier relationship with that food as well. So that way we're not getting into those kind of really dangerous areas of overeating and things that we know are going to put us not only into probably a worse spot for health, but also a worse spot for our psychological health and relationship with food. My general consensus, my general opinion, is probably that 80-20 split. Again, you're just going back to simplicity. As long as 80% of your foods are nutrient-dense whole foods, 20% you can probably get away with having things that are going to be a little bit more processed, a little bit more palatable, delicious sweet treats, if you would say, and you should be just fine. As long as you have your energy goals met and needs met, you're in maintenance, say you're tracking your macros and stuff, your food sources can have some variance there. It doesn't have to be just chicken and rice and broccoli all the time. It doesn't have to be tilapia and asparagus. And I would say that you shouldn't do those things either because now you're also cutting other whole food groups out. And again, probably not doing yourself any justice with your micronutrient intake for food diversity. So we want to have a whole diet. That doesn't mean just whole foods. That means a whole diet that keeps us happy. Now, if just whole foods is good for you, great. It's a wonderful thing. But it doesn't have to be done. You want to maximize your fat loss, it should be a consideration and something you try to include as much as possible. I'll leave it there, and y'all have a great day.